So it's no secret that human beings die, and one of the reasons we might want to bring spirituality into politics is because the question about, or the concern with human mortality is one that I don't think can be distanced from politics. On the other hand, it's one of the most intimate questions that each human being and, each human being in relationship to other human beings must face. It stares us in the face as we search for the meaning of our existence as political beings or as spiritual beings. What is death? How do we deal with it individually and collectively? Politics is not in some way out of remove from this concern. And so, the question of what happens when we die, I think, is, even if it's not explicit in our political discourse, it's implicit. What is the ontology of death in a neoliberal capitalist society? Well, the ontology of death would be that, you are your body, first of all. The soul is shaped by the desires of the body, and the marketplace exists to help you, get your desires met, to help satisfy those desires. And when you die, when the body succumbs to the process of aging and decay, and you die, your soul is gone. And we're going to try to keep you alive as long as we can, and with our medical industrial complex, with various drugs and machines and whatnot. But ultimately, it's this life that matters, and you want to get as rich as you can, as young as you can, so that you can live a nice, enjoyable, pleasurable life, right? And sure, yeah, I mean, if you're not just into the pleasures of the body, you might have pleasures of the mind, and want to leave some sort of a intellectual or literary or scientific contribution to humanity. But for the most part, that's extra. And what a capitalist society is really, what's at the core of it, is this idea that you live once. You want to maximize your profit in this life, and then hopefully die painlessly. And the good news is, when you die, your soul is evaporated into nothing, and you don't remember you ever existed. And so, nothing's really lost in the end. And so this would lead to, this sort of ontology of death would lead to a society where the mores, the values, were basically selfish. Greed is good, right? We are born alone as individuals, and we die alone as individuals, and our associations while we are alive are ultimately a matter of, we're always calculating profit. So every relationship is rooted in a logic of exchange. What am I getting out of this, basically? And, so everything gets reduced to a financial transaction. Money, general purpose money, gets wedged between every social relationship that human beings have with one another. All of this, I think, follows from an ontology of death. And, I should back up and say that I don't think this dog likes what I'm saying over here. But what I'm getting at here with this philosophizing on death is that I kind of think that Ernest Becker was right about culture as an elaborate form of death denial. However, I don't think that we have to limit culture to that. And some of this, I think here I'm going to lean on Bergson's Two Sources of Morality and Religion to talk about the need for, the hot magma of spirituality to continue to pour forth in each generation, so that we don't become overly enamored with the cooled off rock of, the various books that we consider holy, just, regurgitating the dogmas of a literary text and a tradition of reading that text. We need to be able to contact the spirit directly, each of us. And, the problem with a capitalist, ultimately materialist relationship to death, and here I think this is why socialism as a critique of capitalism, and Marxism, I should say, as a critique of capitalism, has so far failed to overcome the hegemony of capital, it's because it's still materialistic. It still fails to speak to the core of the human spirit, which is this intuition we have that we are more than the pleasures of the body, that the cosmic surroundings that we find ourselves embedded within are more than just a big machine, that our bodies are somehow more than blood and muscle, but also the vessels of something more subtle, something that we might call, that we have to say has an etheric quality, and an astral quality, and a spiritual quality. And these are sort of Aristotelian anthroposophical categories that I'm using. They're not just categories, they're layers of reality that you can take them or leave them, but basically what I'm pointing to is that there's more than the merely material. And if we only relate to death as material beings, we're missing most of what's going on. And if we forged a political project in a different sort of, with a different relationship to death underlying it, one that, for example, embraced something like reincarnation, that embraced something like panpsychism also, that, recognized that you can't really separate life and death, that really there's more like, and it's a mystery, but somehow there's a life, death, rebirth cycle. And this dialectical movement, this Bildung, this developmental formation, which we see all around us in the organic world, is participating in this life, death, rebirth mystery, such that when we die to this form, we are reborn in new forms and continue to participate in the ongoing evolutionary expression of spirit, right? So with this understanding, the idea of making as much money as you can before you get too old to enjoy it and before you die, that as the goal of human existence, which is, it's the lowest common denominator guiding our global capitalist civilization, that civilization is dying. So are a lot of human beings still trapped within it. But I think, a new vision is beginning to emerge. And I think we all have a role to play in coalescing around that vision, because it's a multifaceted vision. It's got to be a democratic vision. We need to embrace one another's individuality in a fully, truly inclusive vision of community, and together overcome this fear of death as if we are only worker consumers trapped in a giant industrial machine. That's not who we are. We've had a system trying to convince us that that's who we are, but it's not working, because we're human beings and we cannot be reduced to that. So I'm gonna also link to a little essay I wrote that does look at the social and ecological crises of our time from a Christian lens, sort of drawing on different streams of thought like liberation theology and integral ecology, and thinkers like Thomas Berry and Leonardo Boff and others, to give voice to, I think, a line of thought that's really congruent with some of the work that Pope Francis has done with his encyclical um, Laudato Si. And, it's sort of a creation-centric ethic, ethos, and political social imaginary. So see what you think of that. I'm not, I've, I'm a religious pluralist at my heart, but you'll see it's true, though, for me that Christianity speaks to me in a way that I think goes deeper than some of the other religions. But, I think I do try to remain pluralistic at the end of the day. So anyways, thanks for listening.